digestive system works, and how Asian medicine brings in wisdom and shamanic medicine brings in wisdom. And we use all of these tools from, vibrational healing, sound healing, body work, you name it. It's part of the holistic when we talk about holistic. And it's really the only way to go. How to have relationships, how to release trapped emotions, how to make friends, all sorts of stuff. So today we were talking about narcissists and what's behind a narcissist mask. So you're going to see a lot of videos from other people and read a lot of things from other people. And the main rule of thumb you'll usually hear is about how narcissists are fairly evil, screwed up people who deserve to be cut off and sent away. And you know what? I totally can understand that, because mental health is a real challenge. In fact, I was just reading on Facebook, which means that it must be true, is how a large percentage of people who end up homeless are because not only of mental health, but also from concussions, from people who've had post-concussive injuries and their brain just doesn't work right. And people say, well, not my problem. And they walk away. This is one of the biggest problems we've had with mental health forever, is where we look at people and we say, there's something wrong with you. You don't quite fit in. You know what? I'm going to save myself. You need to go over there. I struggled with mental health for a really long time, and I still do, of course, because mental health has a lot to do with the body as well as the environment. Just because there's something mental healthy going on, depression or anxiety or bad chemistry or hormones or whatever, just because that's happening, it's usually the basis. It's kind of like an underlying basis for people behaving in very narcissistic ways. When I was in my worst of being sick, I was extremely narcissistic, not in a verbal, toxic, horrible way, but the only thing I could think about was how uncomfortable I was. The only thing I could notice is how my skin was crawling, or my digestive system was locked up, or how I was dizzy, or how I couldn't relax, all of those things. Now, emotions play a very big part in that, of course, but there's also underlying issues. There's a lot going on. And when we sit there and say, aha, this person is a narcissistic, horrible, bad person, we don't look at them through a very realistic lens. At the end of the day, we're looking at people who are struggling with something. And yes, you totally, absolutely get to decide whether you want to be a part of that or not. Absolutely, positively. But if you try to delude yourself thinking that A, it won't ever happen to you, or B, that a narcissist is just an evil being that you need to avoid at all costs, whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, or someone who abused you, or your coworker, or your boss, when you go into that mindset of thinking that someone is has no value, it just really continues the cycle. It's about wondering why people get angry when they're terrorized. I read something in Michelle Obama's book, and there's this idea about the angry Black woman. And she says, yes, because there's good reason to be angry, of course. So it's common because it's a good reason. So we have to start looking beyond the surface. When a narcissist takes off, let's say, their quote unquote mask, what they're doing is they are allowing themselves to be even more present with how they feel. And if someone's been pushing all day to look happy and nice and supportive and whatnot in all of these other situations out there, like my dad had to he was a teacher. He had to be on. He worked with vocational education students in printing. He had to show up every day. He had to get along, no matter how he felt, no matter what was going on in his body. He had to sort it out. He had to teach. He had to make money. He had to raise the family. He had to do all those things. And it was very hard on him to maintain dealing with his own stuff. Very hard. And so when he would come home, yes, it would be terrible. because he would shut down and not be present and be angry all the time. And what I'm saying is, behind a narcissist mask is a person just like you and me, who you might not be able to have a relationship with because they're too toxic and you have your own stuff that you're working through. Maybe that's true, but it doesn't mean that we need to keep vilifying and ostracizing and judging and pointing fingers and deciding that this is the one way and the only way. I read a story the other day. It was about how someone had been married to someone who had been a narcissist for like 15 years or 12 years or something. And she was able to maintain until finally divorce papers came, and and she went nuts, and the parts of her that she's been trying to control came forth, and it was the aha, I knew it all along. This was the way that she was. This is the secret person I was married to. There was this experience I had, because I've been doing my healing process for a long time. And I used to hang out with a lot of Native Americans and do a lot of really great work that way. And there was someone I admired, and we were sitting there talking. And I always got the feeling she didn't quite like me, but she was important, and I admired her, for doing everything that she did. And she said to me, "I can always tell when someone is lying to me." And I was like, "Okay." Just because the energy coming off of them and the words that they're saying are two different things. And for me, that really triggered, because that was me. Inside of me, I might have been struggling or tense or in pain or uncomfortable. But the words coming out of my mouth didn't want to reflect that. And so they would sound maybe shallow or fake. They would sound insincere. But in reality, they were both me, both of them. The person who wanted to behave in a different way, as well as the person who was so distraught and so conflicted that they were keeping that stress and that anger under deep control until it would come out in different ways. And for me, it came out because I was sick. Narcissists are everywhere because we have that in us. And when we don't know how to handle what's going on, when we've got a lot of crap going on, when you feel like you're useless and worthless or whatever, or your body's out of balance or your brain's out of balance for whatever reason, it's very, very hard to be the person that you're supposed to be. So there's this conflict between who you want to be and who you are currently feeling. So behind a narcissist's mask is a human being who's probably struggling with some sort of mental health issue. And you get to decide whether you want to stay or not. You get to decide whether you want to engage or not, because there's no fixing, because it's not actually anything that you did. But what I have found, at least with my family, at least with many of the people in my life, is that when you take a step back and you work on yourself, you work on the things that trigger in you, you work on staying balanced, you work on thinking of a higher level, you work on being a better version of yourself. When that happens, then the people around you start to pick up on that. You start to be a stabilizing influence. You start to be a role model. You start to be able to give people the things that they're really looking for, that they've always wanted and that they didn't get. You're able to give the love and the affection and the kindness. You're able to see past someone else's toxic, crazy, narcissistic behavior that's blaming you for everything. And you start to learn how to stand up for yourself. Because many people who are narcissists don't want to be narcissists. They think they have to be narcissists. And then they're narcissists long enough that it just becomes a way of being. It's how they move through the world. They may never want to change. However, if you think somebody might want to, if you think that they've got so much value, if you think you're capable of dealing with your own issues, with your own pain, then yeah, you can have a positive influence in somebody's life, whether they're an acquaintance or whether you're married to them for 30 years. Okay? So behind a narcissist mask is you. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you feel stuck, please reach out. We've got this amazing group of women that we're really pulling together, getting all the details sorted out. And it's a wonderful women's group for women dealing with narcissistic relationships. If you think somebody needs this, please pass it on, because the toxicity and the narcissism is getting off the charts considering the chaos that our world is now in. So be kind. Let's start to heal ourselves so that we can start to heal the world. Okay? I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.